Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Pensado's Place. The song goes, what Lola wants, Lola gets, and you're going to meet the incredible Lola Romero, the chief engineer for Dr. Dre. Really amazing lady. Hold tight, we'll be right to you with that one. The KRK Classic, the Creator Classic is coming up. The opening is August 26th. You want to get involved with that, submit beats, go through the bracket process. And then all of a sudden, if you get selected, off to Nashville to learn from serious mentors. I've been hearing who they've been landing. A great opportunity. You see all the information here. You see where you can sign up. I would advise you to do that. Good on Destin and Liz and everybody else at KRK. It's going to be a killer. Hit us up on all of our socials if you would. Like, subscribe, and notify. We certainly would appreciate it. And as we talked about before, Lola Romero, you're going to meet right now. 6 years from getting out of school, she's the chief engineer for Aftermath, which means Dr. Dre. Enjoy the conversation.
Hey.
Lola. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm good. Nice to see you guys.
So as Lola, in the back, what you see is record one of the places that Dr. Dre and many others have worked out of. Lola, your story is fascinating in that it's a combination of fast tracking. Like in 6 years, you've done things that people have tried to do in 20 years.
Yeah.
And that has to speak to a couple things. One, your talent. Two, Pensado's Place has always had a belief from day one that there's a different gear that female creatives bring to the table, whether it's intuition, perspective, what life experience, whatever it is, there's something unique. Is that fair? Do you feel that way?
Yeah. When you said life experiences, that probably hits the nail on the head.
Mm-hmm. And how does it apply in your work?
I've had a very interesting go, definitely fast track, like you said. What I consider my whole professional career has been working for Dre. I started as a runner and then an assistant engineer, then a lead engineer, and now I'm his main engineer. So here I was really, really blessed with like a really cool working environment. Everybody just everybody treats each other with respect, with the same amount of respect, right? Mm-hmm. So I just had to work hard and, work as hard as everybody. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's a little bit harder, just to really like prove myself and prove my point and prove what I was working for. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably fair for any woman working anywhere and not just in the music industry or another male-dominated industry.
Yep.
That the trek from a school to getting through your first year is that's the worst part of anything,
Yeah. I actually had a year break from school where I was just really trying so hard to be an engineer, and it just wasn't panning out, until I landed at Record One.
You're I've watched a couple of videos on, especially the one with all those records behind you, and you're magnetic. You got a magnetic personality, which should make the journey a little easier, but it's not a slam dunk.
Right.
I think that you pick up things really fast, and that's an asset. And you have no qualm saying, "I don't know about this. Tell me." But you also know when to say that. You don't say that when most of the first year is not learning technical things. It's learning how to work in a team in an environment where you're the low person on the totem pole, how to make yourself more valuable, and how to stay out of the conversation and still be in the conversation. It's an art form, and very few people master it, right?
Yeah, that's probably the harder part about figuring out your own personal path in music. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that Dr. Dre says, he probably thinks we're stalking him because we've had damn near everybody that is Dr. Dre adjacent on the show. But I think Quentin is fond of saying, who, by the way, all your peers love you. Quentin,
that's good to hear. And I love all of them.
Oh, no, they are big Lola fans. But Quentin always talked about, Dr. Dre would say you have two ears and one mouth for a reason. Because you use your ears more than you. But the intuition part that I think our approach has always been, which you fit perfectly into, is that there's the technical side, and that's important. And for some people, that's all it's about. But more often than not, people don't get anybody who teaches them the other side, the soft skills in the studio, the what you do when you have challenges. You've dealt with a physical thing that we'll talk about in a second, that one of the greatest engineers in the business, 40, deals with as well too. And so being able to overcome things like, so we've always tried to have the show be that way. We've also tried to be, because, Dave's an audio engineer, I'm not. So we're coming from different perspectives, but I think that's what's managed, with blessings to all of our supporters, to keep us ahead of the game as influencers, because we try to deal with all of it. And I think what's important to our audience is to hear from somebody like you. Well, this is how hard I had to work, and this is what I did extra, and this is what, and I didn't let anything get in the way of doing it. Where did it all start? Where was the beginning for Lola? What lit the fire? Give us the background.
I just, music was a big part of my family, in a bunch of different ways. I have a very blended and eclectic family, and so everybody close to me has like an individual influence on me and my life, and also with music. I just always loved music. I was like a kid that would just like lock myself in the room and just sit next to my boombox and just like listen, a lot of the times to like really adult music, and I had no idea what they were talking about, but I just felt it, My parents were big advocates for me continuing school after high school, and they really, really wanted me to go to college. And they told me that I could do anything, and it didn't really matter what it was, but that I had to pick something and stick with it. So I just started out going to San Francisco City College. I'm from the Bay Area. Right out of high school, and I just was taking general ed classes. It was my first day, and I was on my way to an English class. I think that I ended up dropping, and I went to the wrong building, and I stumbled into what I saw was a studio, and I had never seen a studio in person before. I was 18, and I saw the whole class like sitting in the live room with just like in chairs, just like with notebooks. I stayed and watched for like a while. I was really intrigued, taking notes. And then I could see behind them, there was a control room back there. I didn't know at the time that it was a live room and a control room, but I soon found out, right? They all, after a couple minutes, they packed up their chairs, and then they just started moving around the room. So I went online, which was how I originally booked my classes. And I tried to find that particular class, and I just found that CCSF had an audio engineering program, a certificate program. So I just looked more into audio engineering, and I was like, yeah, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. This is what I want to do. The next semester I signed up. I went through that whole course. I had two female instructors that were working in the industry, and they very, very much inspired me to keep moving. Like I said, my parents were very adamant about degrees and such, and I'm very glad that they are, because they just kept me moving towards my goal. So I moved out to LA when I was 19, turning 20. And with a couple of friends, and I started school at Lars, the LA recording school.
Sure.
Yeah. And so I moved through there, finished that program, and like I said, I spent a year just kind of trying to figure out life, and just the most amazing opportunity landed in my email. Wow. Paul Montes, the studio manager for Record One, he emailed me and he said, hey, a classmate of yours threw out your name. We're hiring. Would you be interested in being a runner? And I was like, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, things got busy at the time and it just kind of died there. And I was like kind of heartbroken,
Sure.
So flash forward, I think like a whole year. And Paul reached out again. He said, hey, I'm really sorry. Things are just crazy over here, but we're hiring again. Are you interested still? I was like, yes, absolutely. And then that was the jump start to me, like really, becoming a professional audio engineer.
And just to summarize for the audience, Dave, so everybody that's watching, be ready when the door opens. You don't know when it's going to be ready.
Yeah.
Step through the door fully and engage. Follow your heart. And know that there doesn't have to be a preset condition for you to win. You don't have to come from entitlement or wealth or a certain color or a certain region of the country or background, or you got to just be ready. I'm going to officially put this on the table. I have a kid that's beside me and Raj in my boxing class, and he went to Lars, and he didn't know who I was, but he thought I looked familiar. And after about the third class, he asked what I did. And I said, well, I'm in entertainment. Like, I'm still not giving it up. And he says, oh, I'm graduated magna cum laude, blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, I have a pod. I didn't even get cast out. I just got pod. And he went, you're not Herb. And, and as it turned out, there's a point to this story. As it turned out, the class had used Pensado's Place as curriculum. He was a huge fan, all this other kind of stuff. But here's the other side that's important to the audience. Everything I've read about this kid, reading his signals, every conversation I've had with him, everything, he has got the right stuff. So it's become my personal mission to get him a job. I've made a few calls and put him in with Josh Goodwin and Electric Field, and they're all like, he's incredible. And he's did what you did. He stepped into the opportunity. He was prepared. And I feel obligated to reward. It's not like I don't have plenty to do, but I told him, you're going to pay it forward. You're going to get your opportunity, and then I expect you to do well, and then you pay it forward. So that's a long-winded way of saying to the audience, you can if you wanted. Yes. And Lola is an absolute example of that. Sorry, Dave, go ahead.
Oh, no problem. The scariest moment of my life is when I threw that high school graduation cap in the air and it automatically hit me. My parents are going to throw me out. I got no place to go. I got no skills. This is horrible. And it was. I sold clothes. I did everything but deliver newspapers. But during that time period, I'd already been a pretty good musician by that time, but I had not become a mix engineer at that time. And so I just figured out I got to learn something. And so I accidentally stumbled into engineering, which I didn't like at the time, because I'd play sessions at studios real young, and I'd say, Mr. Engineer, can I redo that part? No, kid, I'm going to lunch. I'm like, damn, these people are horrible. But did all that to say less about me and more, and back to you. But my point was, did you use that time, that 1 year time, to start getting prepared to be a?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And so, how was that process? Was it through talking to people, or reading, or watching Pensado's Place?
Yeah, of course. I had made a really good, I would say that like a lot of my success is based on just the personal relationships that I've made with the people that I'm working with. And I had made a really good, we're still friends, but I had made a really good connection with one of my instructors at Lars, Joel Numa. And he took me under his wing, and I had interned for him in that year span of, looking for a paid job engineering. And I really, really appreciate him. I think that while I was in that, and maybe when you're doing an internship and you're not sure, like, A, what you're doing, or B, if what you're doing is right, or if what what you're doing is amounting to the thing that you're working toward.
Mm-hmm.
And there were plenty of times where I think I was just, being a sponge and just soaking in what he was saying, but it just went over my head about engineering. But now that I'm in the chair, 8 years later, 6, 7, 8 years later, it's like it all just comes back to me when I need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
What would you say if you're outside of yourself looking at Lola and thinking about hiring Lola? What is it that Lola does that sets her apart from other things? Do you have a signature? Is it speed? Is it what would you assess it?
Yeah, definitely the speed. The speed and just the work ethic. I always say yes, and I just go for it at all times. Yeah, and the speed. I joke that I'm like typing an essay while I'm engineering. I try to not click at all. I don't want to use the mouse at all, and I try to just keep my hands on the keyboard and just keep us moving.
Really?
Yeah.
This is a good time for one of my non sequiturs, but there was a group called the Kinks, and they had a song called Lola. And one of the
Joel
lyrics
used to sing it to me when we'd work together.
Well, I'm gonna remind the audience of a lyric: "Whatever Lola wants, Lola gets."
Yeah,
that's a lyric. So just go hum that while you're working all day.
I know, right?
but as
you know what? You know what, Dave? I don't have to because the whole room is singing it for me.
Oh, I bet.
No, shit. All the guys that I work with, I come in the room and everybody just gets in tune with one another. It's so amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
That's great.
You're very easy to like,
Well, let's go back to the speed thing, because when you're working with Dr. Dre, you're also working with a perfectionist. I mean, his specificity, him targeting detail is legendary. And, and we're lucky enough to talk to you guys and hear it and sometimes see it. So if you take somebody that precise and you don't even want to touch a mouse, I need video of that process. Because
I'll work on it. I think my guy Zumo took a video of me one time.
Yeah, because that is, that's more than a notion in other rooms. When you take those two elements and the idea that perfectionist says, "Oh, Lola's this is who I'm rolling with."
Yeah. I think I had that perfectionism in me, and I think he just fueled it, and I love it. I love him for that, because he makes me better.
And game recognizes game. Like he's saying that she rolls like I do, that's I got to tell you, after 6 years, that is a testament to, that's like Mount Rushmore, and you had the express ticket to it, but you earned it. So it's a session. I'm assuming that, give us the flow. Somebody has set up everything for you. Are you doing that? Give us a typical session.
It's we work kind of on the fly. So, I could get a call at any moment. And I have, right now I have two really, really great assistants, Zumo and Jeff, who we call Champ.
Shout out.
Between the three of us, we just, we talk amongst each other, and we're like, okay, I'm going to leave now. And, we all live in different areas. And so we just make it happen. First person there, which is sometimes me, sometimes one of them. We just prepare. And then as a team, we just make the day go.
So nobody's bigger than the other person. It's just about getting right and ready to record when it's time to, which is the epitome of team.
Right. Yeah. And I believe it in teamwork, that's how we're able to get it all done. And even in my day-to-day, I'm recording a team of producers. So, and artists, singing, writing, rapping, whatever. And Dre himself. So it's a collective thing, and the engineer is included in that. So it's only right that collectively for the engineering that, we all do it together. And I'm not opposed to getting my hands dirty, and I like to set things up. I like to know part of the perfectionism. I like to know that, I touched it myself. I did it. And, you know, the guys could tell me like, hey, your input is 81, 82, and you're coming out 85, 86. And I just, as I'm engineering, that's just like, just a passing thing. I'm like, okay, now I have them. I'm like, write it down so I can remember. But if I patched it, I would know. Even if I patched 20 things, I would know where they all were because I did it, you know?
Right.
On an interview, you said that you used to practice by going to a speaker, unplugging it, walking away, and coming back and plugging it back in without and hoping that you got the right thing. Yeah. Can you expand on that? Because I found that pretty amazing. Pretty. Yeah.
In this room, actually, I would just kind of go behind the console, or I would go over to the patch bay and I would just unplug things. I would basically just zero things out and then put it back. And like I said, hope. And, you know, after time of practice, knowing that I was putting things back the way that it was supposed to be. And then that helped me transition from being a runner to an assistant engineer, because if somebody needed to be set up or if something needed to happen, I was able to do it.
That's incredible.
What component of Lola's work is different between going and recording and recording vocalist, doing whatever, and then mixing? Is there one or the other that you do more of?
No, we do everything equally. And working for Dre, the recording has to be tip top, but we're also mixing in the same go. Right. Before I press play, it's got to come back sounding correct.
Right.
And sounding right. So, that goes along with the typing the essay. I just try to set myself up so that when it comes time to press play, no matter what, it's ready to go. So as I'm recording, I'm already thinking about the things that I want to do to it before I play it back.
Let's talk about health for a second. Only in this regard, what we've noticed over the course of the 10 or 11 years we've done it is that in the beginning, health was never talked about, even though Pensado's Place is a function of reaction to a health incident. And then we saw things start to change. And actually, when 40 was on and explained that he had always been dealing with this lifelong condition and had achieved despite it. So that was an eye-opener. And then what we saw next were people, and I think it started with Ricky Reed, started talking about mental health. And at first there was nobody talking about it, and he was one of the few. Then more and more people talked about it. Now it's an open conversation because I think between the pandemic and other things, people have realized, no, you're not, you're human and you're affected by human things. And when you're affected by human things, it affects your creativity, even your ability to go be creative.
Absolutely.
How did so you dealt with multiple sclerosis. Yes. Right. And tell us about it. Are you still dealing with it? How are you doing? Because you're the poster child for overcoming shit.
Yeah, I believe I have become. I think I have.
So tell us about it.
I was diagnosed with MS in 2018. And so the bulk of my career, I was just living life as a 20-something-year-old and working hard. And back to when I said I always say yes, I said yes to every single session, no matter, despite whether or not it was harming my health,
Right.
So I just wasn't sleeping. I was eating really bad. I played sports growing up, and I was a personal trainer. That was one of my jobs while I was trying to become an engineer.
Wow.
And that went out the window when I started engineering. And, as a runner, I could just go get anything. We're eating fried chicken and pizza. And, I just kind of let everything go and just solely focused on engineering. I don't regret doing that at all. I think that's a large part of what got me where I am now. But in 2018, I just woke up one day and I had blurry vision in my left eye. And I have always had really good eyesight, 20/20 in both eyes, and just never been a problem. So as it was kind of blurry, I just kind of kept rubbing it. And I was expecting for it to go away. I thought I was just tired. I had just done a 4-day session with Andra, and we just went super, super hard, and like I loved it, and it was so great. It was like one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had, ever. And that'll play a part into what you were talking about with mental health, along with the health. I'll get to that, but I just woke up one day after like a 4-day hardcore session, and as time went on, I went to the doctors right away. I was really trying to figure out what was going on.
Right.
As time went on, the vision got worse and worse and worse. And after about a week of a lot of doctor visits, I finally made it to USC, and they had diagnosed me with optic neuritis. So I had an inflamed optic nerve in my left eye, which basically closed and tightened up, and it just made it like, made my eye and my brain unable to communicate with each other. So I was still seeing everything, but it just wasn't passing the information along, right? It closed in until I could barely see like this much.
Wow.
Just in the center. I had no peripheral vision. So like you guys could be on either side of me, and I wouldn't have known.
Wow.
You know, I went through treatments to get better. I had to take like 8 months off of work. And, you know, I was obviously frightened. Mental health became an issue during that time because I was so scared. I really thought that I wasn't going to be able to engineer anymore. And that was like devastating to me. Right. Within that 8 months, I treated myself holistically through an integrative doctor and through red light therapy. So I worked really, and through diet, and I worked really, really, really hard to get myself back. And I came back to work, and I'm still pushing through. My vision has come back fully. I've tested. There's no permanent damage, but my eye is slightly affected. You know, it's like the right eye is totally cool, perfect, fine. Never had an issue with it ever. But the left eye is just, you know, just not as clear. You know,
it's along for the ride.
Yeah.
That's what an ophthalmologist said to me at one point in time. So, well, your left eye is this, and the right eye is along for the ride. And I was like, oh, great. Thank you for depressing me.
Yeah, I think you just summed it up.
Well, and I didn't want to, you know, get into anything personal, but
no, not at all. I'm really glad. I'm really happy to talk about it because it's become such a big part of my life.
Yeah.
And I like my whole entire view on life, engineering, working, and family and personal life. Everything changed, and you know, I'm so happy to share that. So thank you. Thank you for asking me.
And I'll just say this really quickly in summarizing this topic. It's important the audience knows that life is going to happen to you. It's in session. Sure. And you can utilize this creativity and this anchor to help you get through those things. Like it's sometimes it informs your creativity. Sometimes it makes you adjust and adapt. And I learned that when I was partnered with Maurice White, and his challenges with Parkinson's were just not only amazing, but then it became a little bit of my responsibility when we traveled, and he put on a Broadway play during the time and put together a band that could, you know, resemble Earth, Wind and Fire in the Pit. And all the time he was in his 37th year of having Parkinson's and still forging through. And I was like, I got it. You know, I cannot punk out. This is about utilizing sometimes your challenges to get to the next place with your opportunities. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. And I that's a concept that I just could never even have imagined to understand prior to this happening to me. And I mean it when I say that I'm thankful for this struggle and for this challenge, because it's made me so much better in so many ways. And it's just changed my outlook on life to like, you know, just keep moving forward.
Yeah. And you value differently. You don't waste time with things that don't make sense. And you invest time into people and things that do make sense.
Right.
And in some ways it frees you. You know, I'm finding that with where I'm at in life currently. I'm like, I have a clarity that I didn't have before. And I think, again, for the audience, this is not esoteric theoretical discussion. I know it's not the same as rolling off 2K, but see, when your life intrudes, you have to know how to deal with it inside your career. Otherwise, your career can stop. And then you talk about being in a bad place in terms of mental health. This stuff is not promised, and you're evaluated every mix, every step, every day. And so you got to be able to talk about everything that life brings you.
For sure.
I was just sitting here thinking, I saw something with Anderson Paak, and you were in it. I can't remember this, how long ago it was, but essentially you guys had a band. Oh, I read about it. I'm sorry. There was a band in the live room, and then Paak actually took the microphone, an SM57, and then started directing everybody, and that became a big record. And so you seem to be impressed with the speed with which they came up with something. Can you describe that feeling and describe what it's like to be in that atmosphere? I've been in that atmosphere a few times, but long time ago.
Watching a song come together on the fly is like probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
It is the coolest thing.
It is the coolest thing. Been a part of, and been a part of in my life. It's amazing. It's really cool to watch everybody give their input and like play their like main instrument per se, you know, and like just everybody just go in and do something really, it makes something amazing. It's like, it's really cool. And that particular session that you're referring to, Dave, with Anderson, that was probably the beginning of that becoming my everyday life now.
Wow, you're so lucky. You're so lucky. And then when you get to throw in an idea and everybody goes, oh yeah, I like it, then that's even more cool.
That's the best. That's the best. Yeah, I love that.
Best. We're lucky. We're blessed, you know.
Absolutely.
I feel sorry for the people that aren't us.
Do you spend? Are you a plug-in lady?
I like to let the SSL do a lot of work, you know, and Dre's hand on the SSL is something really, really special.
Right.
But in giving him the best sound before it gets there, I have to be. You know, I gotta do my part on my side. And then when it comes to like my personal projects, even still, like when I'm working by myself or, you know, whoever else, sometimes I haven't lately, but sometimes I work at, another studio if somebody books me, you know, just depends. You just meet people and things work out. But even so, I still rely on the SSL.
Gotcha. The plugins that you do use, what are your go-tos?
Waves and Sound Toys and Lalah. I like really straightforward plugins where I can like get the job done very quickly. And not too transparent, a little bit of color, but not,
little
getting the best of what I can.
Yeah.
It's hard. I feel like I have a warped view because my whole career has been working with an SSL, and I'm very lucky to do so for sure. So it's definitely been in like the later years, like, the past few of my career where I've started to dig into plugins and get better on that side.
Listen, as warped careers go, I would say try Lola's version. That warp works pretty damn well.
It's a cool warp. Yeah.
Now, Dave, looks like we got a tough one here. She's from the Bay Area. And, there's a lot of famous athletes from the Bay Area.
I could use a little help, Herb. I mean, should I just go for it and
just go for
do the right thing? And
because she's tough on every level. You know what? If you get beat down like I expect, I'll commiserate with you and hug you.
Oh, you guys are pumping me up. You're making me
ringing
nervous.
Endorsement, Herb.
Oh man.
All right, so I'm going to say one word, and you give me something really quick. And some of these are a little oddball. You might have to think about them, but they're part of your life. Okay, 808s.
VOG.
Now 14.
Now 14. Too late in the game. I'm like a now 1 through 10 kid.
For those that don't know, it's a compilation record that's been around forever.
You got me for a second. That was really good. I like that.
Yeah, me too. I used to use them too. Details.
Everything. The most important thing.
Favorite compressor.
Tube tech. CL1B.
Preamp.
SSL.
Middle side. MS.
It's not ever something I use.
Do you put your hi-hat on the left or on the right?
Treat
the
it.
left is the right answer.
Treat it so that it's stereo and doing something. Both sides.
Okay, good answer. Loops.
Important. The beef.
Reverb.
Valhalla. No. Can I change my answer?
Yeah.
A
Sure.
real plate. A real plate. I'm going to do it
I gotta
anyways.
get an advantage somewhere.
A real plate.
Okay. Stereo bus.
Can take a lot. This one.
If you're if everything you see in your studio caught fire, which piece of equipment would you like to say? Don't say hard drives or just a real piece of equipment, audio equipment.
I would imagine that my service dog would be with me, so I'd say we just get out of here.
Okay, good stuff.
What kind of dog is it?
He's a lab. He's an 8-month-old lab.
Nice.
Yeah. He started service training at 4 months, and he is a rock star. Love him.
Oh, I love it.
He's my match for sure.
Gotcha. Well, one of the things we like to do when we wrap up shows is see what our esteemed guests, what piece of advice that they would give to our audience. If you were talking, and the audience is 16 to 60. A lot of them there's a component that are professionals, but there's a larger component who would like to be Lola or our weekend warriors, but pretty much everybody loves music, and they're all trying to figure out where music is going and where they can be in it. So that's kind of the audience. What advice would you give?
To work hard, to always work hard. Dre always tells me everything counts. Everything matters. And I agree wholeheartedly. Within that, though, with everything counting and everything everything matters, to also enjoy every moment of everything that you're doing, even when you hate something.
Yeah.
If you could be having the worst time, but you have to walk away having learned something. Whether it be about yourself or the situation, maybe how you could handle something better. But to just really enjoy every experience, even the bad ones, because everything matters and everything counts.
Yeah. Wow.
So that bad moment could matter in your life later.
Great advice. Dave, what about you?
Well, I got a feeling that your motto should be just make great music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I think when you get to that point in a career, great things happen, and greatness is the next step that you're going to get into.
Thank you.
Pretty cool.
And
I'm always working towards greatness. That's my biggest goal.
And that was going to be my wrap up. I think that don't be afraid of ambition. There is nothing wrong with wanting to be great. It sets you on a path. It makes you better. What you do along the way is don't lose your humanity, and enjoy the journey. We are blessed to be stewards of pop culture. It is a privilege, not a right. And as it relates to our guests, two points in wrapping up. One is you've just seen and heard from how you do it. If you want to figure out how to do it, just go back and look at this episode, take Dave and I out of it, and just listen to what Lola says. Because what facts do you need? 6 years in the game, overcoming challenges, male-dominated industry, didn't let her stop it, and she's working at the height of it. And she didn't skip any steps. Went runner, assistant engineer, and all that kind of stuff, went through the whole process. Yeah. So here is your test case. And the last thing I want to tell you, or our audience should know, that the Romero family name has very attractive ladies in it. We have a Romero on our team. Lola's a Romero, and these Romeros are popping. So I just want you to know that as we wrap it up, I mean, it is our pleasure to know you. Know that this platform is available anytime you want to use it. We've managed to interview damn near everybody around Dr. Dre, but his socks. And Talisha's talking to his socks. Yeah. So, as I drive around Brentwood stalking people and stuff. But the point of it is that you get a chance to meet people who work with the greats because they're great. And Lola Romero is one of those. She's already proven it, and God knows what the future is going to bring. And with all that, we'll see you guys next week.